Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder and thank you for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at David Gilmour's Rattle That Lock solo album. This is a deluxe edition, so we're going to do an unboxing as well with this. But this is his fourth solo album that came out in 2015. Prior to this, the three others, he did a self-titled in 1978, and then in 1984 he did About Face, and 2006 On an Island. All really great solo releases. I highly recommend it, but we're here to look at Rattle That Lock. This one coming out in 2015, but the recording of it does go back to 2010. And as we know, the Pink Floyd album, The Endless River, which came out in 2014, happened during that time. And if you recall, in keeping up with David Gilmour history, we knew he was in the studio making a solo album, which later became this. And surprisingly, then in 2004, they announced, oh, we're going to put out a new Pink Floyd album. So he sort of put aside the solo material that he was working on for Rattle That Lock in order to complete The Endless River. And then ultimately, a year later, Endless River came out in 2014. This comes out in 2015. So we finally get that solo material that he was in the studio with Phil Manzanera, who's the lead guitar player from Roxy Music, who produced Rattle That Lock. He's done a lot of work with David Gilmour. He's often been David Gilmour's lead guitar player when touring. He was the producer on this. So this here, like most of these things, is just a lift top box that comes off. There's a little bit of art on the inside, and then you can see right away what you get here. On top, there's this David Gilmour guitar pick, cool double-sided. And then you've got a poster on top and this envelope thing, and below it a couple books. And we'll take a look at these things now. So the poster being the first thing, pretty cool. It's a double-sided poster. Opens up, we get this one first. Nice black and white. But on the reverse, you get this cool color version as well. It's always great to get those big images like that. I certainly don't get that stuff digitally. And then there's this envelope in there. It's got reproduction stamps on it. It's aged looking. It does come sealed. I've opened mine. And then inside is this postcard from a jazz club. And on the back, it's also got that aged appearance, not been written on. I'm not exactly sure why it's included within here, other than the song Girl in a Yellow Dress. And this has a girl in a yellow dress. And it's a very jazzy song, so perhaps that's the sort of story behind that. All right, next up are the two books that are within here, and we'll take these out. And the first one we're going to look at here is more of a lyric book, but it does have pictures and images from the recording process in here, which makes this really quite worthwhile just for the images that are in this, showing the band and the recording process. There's Polly Sampson, his wife, who also writes lyrics for him and is written for the Division Bell and the Endless River for Pink Floyd. But she's always got her camera with her, and she's often the one taking these really great shots that we get like this. Next up is this book, and this is actually Paradise Lost by John Milton, a poet from the 1600s. When he wrote the poem, it was this huge, epic 10-volume book about the fall of man. Satan being cast out, coming down, tempting Adam and Eve being expelled from the Garden of Eden, and just that whole sort of process. And this is his explanation of it through the poem. And the reason that it's included within here is that the song, Rattle That Lock, title track to the album, is that story. And so based on that, they give us this excerpt in the box set, which is really great. And then we've got the two discs, CD and Blu-ray. So you get two individual sleeves, the CD and the Blu-ray here. So talking just a little bit about the album itself, in my opinion, it's a very Floydian sounding album. It's got this instrumental number on it called 5 a.m. that could be any Floyd song, or I should say on any Floyd album. The next track on here, Rattle That Lock, was an interesting song just in that David Gilmour heard a sound before an announcement on a train, and that sound got stuck in his head, and he ended up building a whole song around it, and that's what the song Rattle That Lock is based on. But then Faces of Stone is a beautiful song. Dancing Right in Front of Me was actually goes back 18 years apparently, according to Phil Manzanera. The piano part to that was actually recorded 18 years ago and never used, and then now finally used and built around for this album. It's also got The Girl in the Yellow Dress, as I mentioned on here, a beautiful, a jazzy style sounding song. If you know David Gilmour, he always does, has one song on the album that's sort of out of left field, a little different, not quite what's in the wheelhouse. He does like to explore those things, and there's that song on here. And then the song Today, which in my opinion is probably the best song on the album. Very Pink Floyded sounding on it. I definitely enjoy hearing that, and the lead guitar work for that. But what else is on here is the Blu-ray, and that's got some interesting stuff. There's these barn jams that's on it. There's 4 of them, and they're just called Barn Jams 1, 2, 3, and 4. The story behind those is they're recorded from 2007, and he's got these barn jams spread out on other Blu-ray, like a lot from live concerts and things that he's released, and or the 2014 Endless River Pink Floyd album has some on there. But these were recorded in 2007 when Richard Wright, Pink Floyd's keyboard player, was part of his touring band, along with Guy Pratt, a bassist who's their session bass player and touring bassist. So you've got 3/4 of Floyd without Nick Mason jamming, and these are not album tracks or anything. These are just new exploratory versions of songs they're trying out. And so you do get essentially 4 new songs added onto this thing. They're really great instrumental lead guitar work by David Gilmour. For me, that's the real grab for this is that on here. But then you also get interviews with the animators who did the Rattle That Lock video, because that's an animation. You get the Rattle That Lock video. You get Girl in a Yellow Dress video on here. Interview with Polly Sampson and David Gilmour. As I said, she writes a lot of the lyrics, so definitely worth hearing her perspective on this. Not just the fact that she's his wife. She is integral to a lot of this stuff. And then there is a making of Rattle That Lock video on here. And then there's some audio-only content. You get a couple different mixes of Rattle That Lock, an extended version, a youth mix, and a radio edit. And you also get Girl in a Yellow Dress orchestral version. I personally like the orchestral version better than any of the others. So it's nice to get that version. I always enjoy hearing alternates of things, the sort of what ifs. Maybe they had chosen to put the orchestral version on the album. Would that have made my opinion of it any different than the standard version that we get? So there you go. Nice little package, deluxe edition of this. Hopefully this piqued your interest to go check it out if you didn't already know it, and if you did, maybe you're going to go back and explore it, hear it in a little different way, or check out that Blu-ray disc that this comes with to check out those barn jams and stuff. So there you go. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts as always. I'm curious to hear what you think of this album, and or if you've got a particular favorite song or something of that nature. And as always, have a great day, and I'll be talking to you all real soon. Take care.